I want to make sure we're all on the same page with this, because what we're learning today is going to be confusing once we add it on to what we've already been talking about. Okay? Because here we're talking about what interval is positive, what interval is negative. With 3.5 today, we're going to be talking about what interval is increasing, what interval is decreasing. So it sounds very similar, but it's actually very different. Okay? So let's make sure we hammer this home. Number 8. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is dot all my intercepts. So anytime this little parabola crosses my axes, I'm going to make a dot, right? So I've got a dot right there, and right there. So where does this line cross the y-intercept? What's my y-intercept here? Alex?
-6.
0, -6. I have two x-intercepts, one at 1, 0. One at, it's hard to see, -5, 0. So I know right away the numbers that are going to be included in my intervals are 1 and -5. Now the order and the direction of my little alligator mouths, right, is going to vary depending on what we're looking at. But I know there's definitely going to be 1s and -5s involved, okay? So the process that we learned was we're going to draw a line through our x-intercepts just like that. And just like that, I'm going to draw a line through my x-axis to separate my graph into sections. And now I see that I clearly have 6 separate sections. All right? I'm only going to highlight a section containing my parabola. So here is one section, right? I'm going to make the arrows just a little bit clearer so you can see them. Right? This top left section here, this top right section there. Now, are these two sections positive sections or negative sections?
Positive.
How do we know they're positive?
Because the arrow is pointing up.
I like that you said that, but that's not quite the explanation. Ava? It's above the x-axis, right? Over here, well, I'm not going to do that. But what you're thinking of is what we're learning today. So keep that in mind, okay? So these sections are above the x-axis. That makes them positive. Are they touching each other? No. So the interval I write is not going to be touching each other. It's going to be 2 separate intervals because I have 2 separate sections here. Okay? So for my positive interval, let's get that out of the way. I'm going to have x something something and x something something. Right away I know that's the setup because my 2 sections are disjointed. They are not touching. They are separate. So I'm going to write separate intervals for each little section. All right? So when is x positive? X is positive anywhere to the left of -5. Yes? So would that be greater than -5 or less than -5?
Less than -5.
Less than -5. This whole section here represents any x value less than -5.
Would that mean that the other x is less than -6?
We're not looking at this.
No, because it's only the x. The x only
Right.
means only the x.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, but that still means it's going to be less than 1, though.
Well, hold on.
No, it wouldn't.
Let's look at this. Hold on. Just stay with me, please. Stop trying to go ahead. This yellow section here, right? My x values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is that every value greater than 1 or less than 1?
Greater.
Greater than 1. All of these are x values greater than 1. So the interval will be x is greater than 1. Double check your answer and make sure your little, I don't even know what they're called.
Alligator mouth.
Alligator mouse are eating in the right direction, right? I'm sure they have a name. I don't know what it is. Don't ask me what it is.
Less than and greater than symbols.
That's way too long. They got to have a shorter name than that. I'll look it up later and tell you. But I don't know. Do you guys see how we got that done? Give me a thumbs up if you're following along. That makes sense. Even if you didn't get it right on your own. Okay, good. Now, where is my function negative? Well, this little loop-de-loop down here, right? How do I know this section is negative? Because it's below the x-axis, right? We talked about this x-axis being where the sand meets the water, right? So this little section's underwater. That's my negative interval. These two up here are on the beach. Those are going to be positive. Now, this pink section, it's a contained section. It doesn't go on forever. Andrew? Sure. That pink section does not go on forever in either direction. It is contained between my x-intercepts, right? Well, this side is -5. This side is +1. And my section's in the middle. So I know my negative interval is going to say -5 something, x something, +1. We're not separating these intervals because my pink section is not separated. It's just one contained section, right? Where we aren't going past -5 to the left. We aren't going past +1 to the right, right? So if you're getting stuck on what direction they go, first of all, they should be going the same direction no matter what. So I saw some people had like something like this, -5 less than x greater than 1. They got to be going the same direction, right? So we don't want to see that, right? Let's just pick a random x value in that interval, -2. Is -2 greater than -5 or less than -5?
Greater.
Greater than. So my x has to be greater than -5. Is -2 less than or greater than +1?
Less than.
Less than. So that x value has to be less than +1. They're both going the same direction. I know that I'm correct. Anybody get number 8 right on their own? Anybody? Good. That's great. Any questions I can answer on number 8? Okay. Dropping down to 9. Now, number 9 is a little bit different, right? I've got an x-intercept at -1. I'm not even going to worry about the y-intercept. I do not care, okay? And I've got an x-intercept at 0, -3. Okay, I'll ignore my y-intercept for now. That's not going to matter for what we're doing. I'm going to make a vertical line at my first x-intercept, another vertical line at my second x-intercept, a horizontal line at my x-axis. All right? Yeah.
That's not how you write the x-intercept. Isn't the negative one supposed to be the
You're right. My bad. Because I was thinking about y-intercepts. Good catch. -1, 0, -3, 0. Thank you. Right? Either way, we're going to be using a -1 and a -3 in our intervals. So how much of my function is above the x-axis?
The little tiny bit.
A very tiny bit, right? See that little tiny curved line right there?
Yes.
That's the only part of my function in the positive section. So I'm just going to have one little yellow strip going up that way. Most of my function is below the x-axis, which is all negative. So this section is going to be pink, and this section is going to be pink. Right? That's what number 9 should look like. So here, unlike number 8, my negative section is not touching. I have two completely disjointed sections, so I'm going to write two separate intervals. One relating x to -1, and one relating x to -3. I'm not quite sure what my alligators are going to be pointing yet, but I'll figure that out in a second. Now my positive section is that little self-contained space in between -3 and -1. Right? Here's a -3, there's a -1. My x is in the middle. So -3 something, x something, -1. Now I got to put on my thinking cap to figure out what arrow or what direction all my little arrows are going to go. Right? Hopefully you've seen the pattern that in a conjoined section like that, they're always pointing to the left, right? Did you guys notice that?
Yes.
Hopefully. Right? So x is greater than -3 but less than -1. Anywhere in between there, it's a very small section of real estate, but that's the only positives I have. My negative section is anything to the left of -1. Is that greater than -1 or less than -1? Less than. Again, you could take a random x value like -8 and ask yourself, well, is that greater than -1 or less than -1? Less than.
Less than.
You guys okay? What did I do? And then -3. Oh, wait.
No,
I'm
that's not
tripping.
correct.
I had it backwards.
It's greater than -1.
Yeah, greater than -1.
And then less than.
Because I had them flip-flop. So all these values are less than -3. That's this interval right here. All these values are greater than -1. That'll be that interval right there. Right? Davis, you okay?
Yeah.
Is that an export mark?
Yeah.
Okay, put it away. Last but not least, number 10, where almost everyone had a lot of trouble with number 10, right? Because it's like two parabolas conjoined. So I'm going to dot all my x-intercepts. How many x-intercepts do I have here?
2.
I got 3. Thank you, Colby. I've got 3 of them,
Oh yeah.
right? The origin's on the x-axis too.
Yeah, that's also a y value.
So I'm at -9, 0, 0, 0, and 9, 0. The only y-intercept I have is at the origin, right?
So it's possible that there could be more than 2.
Yep, it's however many times it crosses. See this pink line? I cross there, I cross there, and I cross there.
Yeah.
3 of them.
Which means there could be 4.
There could be as many as we want. It could go like like a sine graph.
Yeah.
There could be a bunch of them. We're not going to worry about that.
Go up by 9. Like, positive.
So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So now we have 8 sections. That makes our life a little bit more difficult. But I'm only going to... Are you guys listening?
Yeah.
All right, if I'm going to look on the top with my yellow highlighter, there's a section right here with my visible function, and there's a section over here that I can see my function in. So those are the only sections I'm going to highlight in yellow. Right? And what's different about this is we have a self-contained section over here,
Yeah.
but then we have an infinite section over here on the right. Right? It's going to go on in the positive forever to the right. If I look at the bottom, I've got the same thing but different. I've got a section that goes to -infinity on the left, and I've got a self-contained section right here towards the right. So that's what my colors should look like. Now, I have 2 separate sections for my positive intervals. So I'm going to write 2 separate intervals, inequalities. But this one is self-contained. It goes from -9 to what? 0. So x is going to be in between -9 and 0. And we have another positive interval over here,
Yep.
right? Are all of these x values greater than 9 or less than 9?
Greater.
Greater.
So x is greater than 9.
Everybody with me on that so far?
Yep.
Okay. For my negative intervals, I'm going to have the same thing. I'm going to have a little triple stack here, and then just a double. So for my negative, anything less than -9 is going to be negative. So x is less than -9. And anything in between 0 and 9. So 0 is less than x is less than 9.
Yeah.
It's going to be my interval there. All right. So if you didn't have that, hopefully you have that now. If you need to review this later, this will be in Google Classroom, right? So you can watch it. If you've had a long day and you need to refresh your memory later, it'll be there. All right.